and I'm sure you're kind of aware already of, like, okay, hang on, I have my audio still on. But I was talking about, like, you're aware of our team's win conditions. Our team has, like, two split push champions and some shielding from you and Karma, and pretty much you are our only engage, which sucks because you are also pretty much our main peel. Um, Karma can do some peel too, but our comp is basically revolving around picks and split push, which is kind of ironic because we get out split push this game. Um, but what this means we need to do as bottom laners and as support and AD carry is we need to find where the three of us, you, me, and Sona can, or no, you, me, and Karma can group together and let the others split push, and then hopefully they can rotate to where we have an advantage and pick a fight where we have four people where they only have three whenever they have to respond to a minion wave. Um, we had a little bit of trouble doing that this game, but what you should be doing to help this happen is setting up for a little bit more vision mid game where someone needs to be split pushing. Uh, I was calling out things pretty late whenever I was asking for wards, so I don't think it was ever a really good time whenever I mentioned it in game to get a ward there, but it's something that you should be thinking about. Um, their team has a lot better team fight than ours does, I think. And Xayah has her ult and her Guardian Angel that she had later to screw with our assassins. So I think that even though it didn't work out too much this game, split push was the way we were going to beat this team. Ezreal jungle is also really strong early game, and Karma is not. So I was totally not expecting any help from our jungler this game, and I was expecting kind of minimal interference from the Ezreal too, just by the way our lane kind of was. You can kind of guess where the jungler is going to be, even though I was wrong whenever he was over here. I already had the wave up whenever I expected him to be on his blue buff. So it still was in effect, even though I was about to let it go back out. And whenever we saw the Ezreal over here, it was like, oh fuck, let's just back off. And that was really fortunate you had a ward over there. Otherwise, we probably would have died. So thank you. So I gotta also hand it to you. Your positioning as Sona is actually pretty damn good. You always are posturing in lane, and this is how you create, an easy lane for your AD carry. Even though I was missing shitloads of CS, you were doing everything you could to let me get CS. So your laning is pretty good. Even though you took a break, mechanics pretty decent, pretty all right. You know what I'm saying? You know when also to back off because of the minion wave. They got two first. This is the only time I really noticed you overstep, and I think that's because you were going to trinket it. No, not quite. You really. Yeah. So yeah, you needed to wait for the minion wave. It still ends up working out for us. We end up getting the kill on Xayah. It's a little bit close, but it works out. And then you get to watch me horribly CS this. So your lane, I really don't have any complaints other than like this one thing here. And because you do posture well, you do harass well, and your build, I'm really happy. You got Sightstone before you traded to your sweeper. A lot of times I see people trade to sweeper really early when they don't need to. Also, rushing Ardent is why I started Targons. So I'm glad you got that. So around now, 4 minutes, it's getting close to whenever we'd expect Ezreal. And just for the sake of my argument, I'm going to watch Ezreal. So Ezreal's looking for a gank here. But if he had cleared a camp here, and he would typically recall because that's where you would get your... Hang on, wait. Oh, he already had gotten kills. I wasn't paying attention this game. But that's whenever you would have enough money to get your jungle item. So that's why normally after you do these camps, if you don't find a gank right away and you don't get scuttle, people just, do a camp and recall. He got kills early. I think that's why he changed his playstyle a little bit and I wasn't paying attention, so I probably should. But if you also look at our Karma's clear, our Karma cleared all of these camps up to here and just try and guess what she would be able to do after this. Well, after she clears this camp, she'd look for a gank, and then she'd recall to go to these camps. And that's something to think about because this lets you save wards and use them for lane, and also know whenever you can be playing aggressive. As Sona and other champions like this, I'm not sure if you play Sona often, but these are champions that like it's really easy to die, but also really easy to press leads. So that's why whenever you feel like you're leading and you like start harassing them under turret, all of a sudden you can get ganked and then you lose your lead. But this is a good strategy to be harassing them under turret whenever you know it's safe. One way you can know it's safe is by knowing where the jungler should be, because you only have to win over 50% of games to climb, and over 50% of games is whenever junglers are going to be playing standard. A little bit of cheese champions. Ezreal's kind of cheese. Irving's kind of cheese. Twitch, Evelyn. Those junglers you cannot really predict, because this guy just looks for early ganks and stuff. And we start seeing Ezreal on the other side of the map, so we know we don't need a ward too early. And then he even dies here. So we know he's actually not going to have gank pressure for a very long time because he lost his red buff. If he comes to gank us, he's going to be totally reliant on the lane CC, which we're already kind of aware of. So he's not going to be bringing too much other than just straight damage. And if we know where he's going to be based off of like his camps, and since he didn't clear these camps, we actually don't know where he's going to be for a little while. But he's going to be down here when this buff spawns. So probably 6-ish minutes is whenever he'll start coming bottom again. My shitty CS, please don't pay attention to it. And you get a ward up here. This is the one that ends up saving our life. And here's one of my mini Tristana mechanic, glories, whatever. Great stuff. You ping her to fall away. Is that you? No, Karma singles that. Yeah, I don't know if this was a good gank anyways. I think that that was a good idea for her to just walk away. Paying attention to these things, whenever they introduced these things on the minimap, the game got a whole lot easier. You don't have to even pay attention to timers really, because this is your timer. Once you start seeing this on the map, you know the jungler's going to start playing around there. He's clearing his camps. What the fuck? I'm not getting good examples this game. But whenever it's yellow, like, he's got to be there. So, yeah, it's wonderful stuff. Around now is whenever I would start playing really safe, because I'm expecting the jungler to be here. And the wave's coming to us. Partially intentional, but also because they were fortunate. We were lucky enough that they just shove. See, we're playing pretty far back, and you also know you're backing off. See, this is really good awareness of this timer. And yeah, see, look. I don't know if that was intentional, but that was the awareness of this timer and seeing how they were posturing in lane. So if you're watching, once Blitzcrank steps up here, that's partially why we start walking away, because the Blitzcrank starts playing aggressive. But we're not attacking him. Okay, and he's 6. Well, there's a lot of reasons to walk away here. So another bad example. But whenever that happens, and this timer just popped, right? You can assume the Ezreal would be down here. You could work a little bit more on helping with last hitting. I did a awful job last hitting this game, and I will admit that. I think that I probably missed a total of somewhere around 20 CS this game, if I gave myself a number where I just should have gotten them. But if you look at this wave, it's really hard for me to get all of these, and like if you had just auto-attacked a couple of times, you could get your AD carry a lot of extra gold. I know you're trying to save power cord, but we really shouldn't be fighting right now anyways, because you're not level 6, and they both were. Not to mention that if you're kind of paying attention to gold timers, I don't know how important gold timers are. There's a lot more important timers than to worry about gold. But around now is whenever people are going to get enough money for BF Sword. If you're paying attention to how long people have been in lane. And I know as a support you don't have the same inventory as I do, because I have actual like gold that shows me, hey, I'm close to a BF. But we knew that they weren't going to be staying for this unless they were really going to cheese us. So you could have used your power chord on this and not worried. Um, so that is one thing you could work on in lane, I guess. We didn't ping missing, and that's honestly, I think this is my fault to not ping missing there because I was totally aware of them leaving lane and I didn't do it. But you know, it's 50% your job as well to be aware of this, and because we didn't ward for that and we didn't ping for that, we cost some kills mid. Whenever we were looking at mid game and late game, how we weren't really able to come back to this game, we kind of set up mid to get fed here because we gave him those 2 kills. And that kind of shafts Kassadin because now Kassadin can't really 1v1 the way he would like to. He no longer has a lead. He kind of was Gangplank was gifted a way back into this game by us not managing our lane opponents. Now there's not really a good way you could ward for that, but you can ping for that, and neither of us did that. So because we didn't do that, we are partially responsible for mid lane losing. And that's something we need to be really aware of because remember our win conditions for this game? Our win conditions for this game was our split push. And if we're making our split pushers fall behind, that is how we straight up lose this game. So that was really bad by us. And then Gangplank shows up bottom, and we see Xayah for a second come down here. And I know you mentioned like they were probably switching out of convenience. I do think you were right with saying that, but it's kind of weird that we just let them sit in this lane this long. You're respecting the Blitzcrank hook a lot, and you're also respecting the level advantage. But look, level 7, and you're I think even getting zoned out of some of this experience. Do you have wards? Yeah. I would trinket this really early, so that way they can't play up into this. And I would play into the minion wave a little bit, because we're just giving up all of this pressure, and they're both melee characters. So we shouldn't really be this scared of them. And because we didn't trinket this early, we had to back off even more. And I don't know, did I not have trinket up? I might have had 2. No, I didn't have trinket up, so I couldn't trinket this, and that's why I have to play safe. So now we're like just basically waiting, you know, and I start playing aggressive, but I can't chase this because there's no trinket in here. And we knew we weren't going to get ganked, and you weren't doing anything with your trinket because earlier we saw Ezreal up here. So this is making this situation a lot harder for us. And you just hit 6 here, and you saved my life, which I am very grateful for. But we shouldn't have gotten into that situation because we needed just a trinket in here to avoid that. Playing against a Blitzcrank, I would actually prioritize Sightstone over Ardent, just because situations like this, where we just get zoned out of a wave, zoned out of a fight for no reason. And then we both trinket it at the same time because I finally get my trinket back, and as soon as I do, I trinket this, but for some reason you do now too. If you weren't going to trinket this, then why did you decide to do that now? Because we just lost a fight and now you're scared? Well, you were scared beforehand. If you looked at the way you were playing really far back. So why do you feel like now we want to trinket this? If you knew you wanted to trinket this, you need to trinket this a lot sooner. So now it looks like we might be getting a gank soon. I would start pinging assist me. If I was, I don't know, more aware of this game, I would have done that. Because we even had a pink ward for her to walk into lane. And then we get ganked, and let's see how this fight plays out. You don't chase this, which I think is the smart move. I want to kind of play onto this side of the fight because we don't have vision over here. I think you're in a good position here. I think you do that right. And now, yeah, they've cleared both of our trinkets, which is unfortunate. And they cleared our wards over here. And then some fantastic Tristana mechanics. Do you see those things? Oh my god. How does this get to diamond? I will never know. And again, I'm having trouble last hitting. You don't even have power chord up right now, and you're not trying to help last hit. You should probably work on that. And at this point, whenever I see that there's 3 people bottom, we just need to leave. And I stay too close, and I have to like spend extra time. But there's no way we're gonna save this turret. Now is whenever we need to be focusing on. Okay. So at this point in the game, what do you do? Right? As our conditions to win, we need to be split pushing. In order to be split pushing still, we want to be drawing people bottom. We're not a strong grouped team. The only way we can draw people bottom is by putting pressure on this lane and pushing this wave out. That's why I spend so much time bottom, and that's why I'm constantly pushing this wave out. But what should you be doing as a support? Honestly, you should not stay in the lane with me, but you should ward for me. If I get roamed on, I know I took a shitty fight over here and I died anyways, but it was close. I mean, like, I'll let you see it. But the way that this fails is if I get roamed on or we don't see them rotating down. What its goal is to just create enough pressure down here to either prolong laning phase or make it so that way whenever they're down here responding to this, we can group where we have a lead. Our team isn't a good team fight comp, but it is a good pick comp. So we can group mid and look for that pick, but only after we create, pressure to have someone respond. As a support, your job is to make it so it's safe for someone to do this. And throughout this game, you did not ward for split pushing. I start telling you, as I said, a little late to be doing for these, like putting wards places. It should be set up you're thinking about the entire game. I'm only thinking about it where it's like, I really want to be splitting this, but I can't kind of mindset. While you need to be thinking about this as a, where are we going to go next, and what can I do to make that safe? So as I said, I don't fucking care about dragons, but a ward right here is great right now. Because if you get a ward here, not only does that see dragon, but that catches people coming from blue and coming from mid. And we already have a pink over here. I don't know whose this is, but this is going to see anyone else coming. So with just 2 wards, we would be able to secure a split push bottom. Now top lane's also having its own issues, but it's trading kills evenly, and he hasn't lost turret yet. So the only focuses this game right now are rotating between bottom and mid. So your only ward that you need to put down while you still have trinkets is right here. So we start pushing this out, and you're here to get gold, which makes sense. And you don't want to be warding alone. You know this. It's a standard thing. So you don't want to be going up here unless you know that you see people. And we get a ward over here, so it's not super necessary right now. But this is kind of the ward you need to be looking for. And you start going mid, and I do think that it was a right idea to go mid. And here's my fight bottom. So this is where I die for free, and it's because I play like an ape. So I went in because I was watching her cooldown and she didn't have her recall thing. And then I push her into the bushes and I lose by like 2 autos. So that was great. But, that's what we kind of want to do. Except for not die in the 1v1. And, you say you like playing with veins. This is what every vein is going to want to look for. So you need to be knowing to keep these wards out. Like right now, it's not there. We just see people middle, and I ask for the ward where Blitzcrank is, but you're smart and you don't go for it right away because Blitzcrank's there. And then we see the teleport come in, and then we see people walk away. Okay. There's no way you're going to get to this in time. To be completely honest, there's just no way. Because even if you get here in time and you ult and everything, Blitzcrank is here too. They're going to catch this. At this point, I would be getting this ward out because he's dead. You see, he's even laughing. He knows this. There's no reason for you to walk over here and you die too. I actually didn't know you died here. But this is an example of showing up to fights where you're not needed. And if you had just gotten this ward and backed off to this turret with your team, you probably could have held this turret. Yeah, because this is pretty close. This is very close. You could have definitely held that turret. And you see, I take a turret down here because this is all I really want to do. If we were able to hold this turret and I was able to get this, we would have won this exchange. And all this happened not because the Zed died. The Zed dying was a factor. But you need to be worrying about your play here because you are all we needed to change this fight over here. So in this little bit where you could have shown up to this fight, you weren't going to make it. Assess the fight sooner. And I'm pretty sure we lose this. We have to lose this. Yeah. Alright, so now it's another different situation. We lose this outer, and we also have lost this outer. It makes it a lot less safe to be pushing mid up, and it makes it a lot harder to predict where they're going to be rotating down. Because, whenever they had the turret here, that was basically a ward. Now they could be coming down through here as well. And this entire red side jungle is theirs, basically. So the way we want to respond to this is still keeping a ward kind of around here, because it's the entrance to our jungle. But at this point, we kind of want to leave bot lane alone. At this point, if we go bottom, we have no way of really seeing where they're rotating between, and we don't have a way of continuing this push safely. So we want to leave bottom lane alone. So what is your job as a support whenever we want to leave bottom lane alone? Well, we want to get control on Herald, so if I was you, I would have a pink ward, and I would put a ward on Herald. Also, I would ward around here, and I would ward around here. So these two wards would make it so that way we can see if anyone's around this side of the jungle, and we could rotate between mid and top pretty safely. If we can rotate between mid and top pretty safely, that means we can also bait Herald potentially, and we could sit for picks in the jungle. Our team is pick reliant and split push reliant. So what we want to be doing right now is letting someone else go bottom, and Kassadin does go bottom, and he gets the kill on Xayah. But also making it so that we can play towards the Zed, and we can't play towards the Zed because we don't know where anyone is in all of this darkness. Now, I understand it's not safe to ward alone, and I understand we don't know where the enemy team is, so this isn't safe to go out. But look right here. We start to see people. We know Xayah's bottom, we know he's over here, and we know this guy's up here. And you know how I said people overvalue Dragon? You're sitting on this side of the map when you're totally not needed on this side of the map. You're on the wrong side of the map. 100%. You're not going to show up to any support bottom lane. There's nothing to defend here. We're not going to be able to contest Dragon. And we already had vision around here. I don't think this is your ward. It might be your ward. And if it is your ward, it was unnecessary. Because we already had one here. Yeah, it was your ward. Unnecessary right now. You see where I put my ward? This is the safe version of a ward where it's like, I don't know, actually that's not my ward. I don't have that type of ward. Zed puts the ward there. Oh no, that's you. Oh yeah, okay. That's a pretty good ward. That's a good ward. You didn't need to put this one down, and you wasted some time where we could have set up over deeper in here. And now they're posturing for Dragon. At this point, remember how I said Dragon, if it's free, go for it? All of us should be pushing mid really fast. Because if we get a turret for Dragon, that is a trade you should make every time. Unless it's Elder Drake. And that's normally going to draw them off of Dragon to come mid. But we all start walking down. Do you see you're following them down, and now we all get off the wave because I can't stay here alone, and then I'm also responding to the Trundle. What should have happened here is Zed should have responded to the Trundle, and the three of us should have pushed mid. But whenever you're a support and you are responding to someone's play, you're not being a shot caller yourself. You're just a lamb in the flock following whatever's happening. And that's not how you climb. You need to be making your own decisions if that means letting someone make a stupid play or changing their mind by giving them different tools to work with. They don't have you there, all of a sudden maybe it's not as smart of a move. But because of this setup now, she's down here, we have to respond to the Trundle, and now there's no one really to push mid. We only can lose things from this. We're going to lose Dragon for free, and we're probably going to lose this turret too, or at least get a chunk of damage on it. So we are able to force him off, But they have complete dragon control. They also now have complete mid control because for some reason Zed came up too. And now they can push mid. And this is partially the Qs that you put as support, or any position. Where you walk is a Q. Think of a Kalista ultimate. Whenever Kalista ults you, you know she wants you to go in. Just walking is a Q. Okay, so let's look at this too. So let's see, what are you trying to do here? Okay, so you're trying to replace this ward, right? That's what you're coming up here for? Well, I don't think that was at all necessary. Because you're not thinking about where we want to go. Where we want to go we have nothing, we have no need for this vision, this rotation. Because we don't have anything pushing bottom lane. And we don't have anything going on mid lane. This wave isn't far enough up. So yes, you know that they're going to be coming from this area. Yes, you know that. I know that's good foresight. But you don't know where our team wants to go. Our team has no reason to rotate over here. We already had lost the dragon. We lost this turret. We lost this turret. We have nowhere to run to. And you decide to go up in a very dangerous situation to get these wards down. If you wanted to ward to make this safe, just ward like here, pop the blast cone thing, whatever this is, and walk away. But because you walked all the way up here, you don't have your team with you, and you don't have a way out. Because you can play with vision over here in this bush, and maybe they wouldn't chase you all the way. But because you walk up this way, you're just putting yourself in unnecessary danger. And the reason you're doing this is because you know where the enemy is going, but you don't know where our team is going. Because there, again, is no reason for us to go this way. So what if they're sitting in this bush? If we don't go there, it's worthless. They might as well be sitting in this bush. Because if they're sitting in this bush, we're never going to see them too. So this is a similar thing to thinking about wards where we're split pushing. You're not thinking about where our team wants to be. So like this ward right here and this ward, those two wards set up our team for where they want to be. And this one is yours, so this is a good ward. But these don't. These wards don't. Okay, so now I end up dying here. That's largely my mechanical misplay, but also I overstayed to try and help you. I would say that death is 5% your fault and 95% mine, so give me a little bit of credit here. 5%, take that. But you really don't need these wards. Totally unnecessary. So at this point of the game, now we've lost top turret, we've lost mid turret, and we've lost bot turret. So our win condition is still kind of at play. Zed is still able to split push, you know, he's 4 and 6, but that means that he can kill probably 3 of the enemy's team. So that means he's going to at least have the stronger people responding to him, which means we can look for something somewhere else. But if Zed's down here, and we already have this is a blue trinket, so it's going to stay there for pretty much ever. And, you know, they're probably not going to check down here. And what do we want to be doing now? Well, this is whenever I, again, am going to queue. We want to rotate between mid and top, and Herald. Even though top lane is dead, this situation doesn't change because they still have all of their outers, which means that we don't have to extend quite as far for this pressure, and we know that they're going to be responding to Zed. This sounds pretty obvious, but if it's obvious, why weren't you setting up for it? So that means it's not in your thought process. It can be obvious, but not in your thought process, so make it part of your thought process. Putting wards to help these split pushes is how a support contributes to these split pushes. And then we have an interesting fight here, but we don't lose anything. And you show up to this, and I think that's okay. We don't have any vision on Baron for almost this entire game. And I put a blue trinket there, and they never cleared it out for like 5 minutes or something like that. It was ridiculous how long that lasted. Think about if you had your pink ward here from Herald. That would have given us vision for probably 15 minutes of this game. You really need to be thinking more about this map, this side of the map, and control here. Zed is creating our win condition right now. He is doing his job. Even though we're really far behind, he's making people respond to him, and he's giving us the chance to get something somewhere else. So let's see. You have one ward less in your inventory. We double ward here. You don't need a double ward. I don't know if you placed yours first or if they did, but if I'm just going to assume you placed yours first. But that makes this a really unfortunate ward. We also are warding really, really shallow over here for Baron. If you're warding shallow like this, it better be your pink ward, because this gives us nothing. Do you see how far, like, if they're walking down to do Baron, that ward's not going to see them. If they're on Baron, it's not going to see them. So, and if they're rotating, there's like a 30% chance it doesn't see them. So whenever you're warding again, knowing where they're going to be, even though this is a safe ward, right? You think you're warding safe. Look back at vision, right? Right? Do you see where they are right here? That's whenever you put this ward down. You had the time to take the extra 1 second to go over here and put this ward down. And it may sound not like much, but that's the difference between someone living and dying. And, you know, that's picking smart fights too. That's whenever you know, if you see someone rotating this way, for us to take our picks. And even though you have 2 wards down, at least, maybe 3, you might have a pink somewhere, it feels like we have no vision this game. And you see how this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to play to what I believe is our win condition, right? And I know Gangplank's going to ult this, so I walk away. I could have potentially stayed. I don't know if I would have been able to get that in second wave, but I leave. But see, people respond to this aggression. Gangplank wasted his ult, Zaya's top, and now we're looking for something mid. But what your job is in this situation is to set up vision. Now, this was a really dangerous push for me to do, and I was just doing it because like it was necessary. But you can make a stupid decision like what I just did, a smart decision, with just a ward. And it's still the same goal right now. We want someone to be splitting, and we want to be looking for these 2 turrets. And if we're doing a 1-3-1, that's okay too, but we need to be able to hold this. So once we start seeing that there's a lot of people going bottom, we both start trying to look to go down. Hang on, wait, no, I just take a stupid fight, right? It works out, but I take a stupid fight. And then I die. So I figured that like I was gonna die anyways, but I also wanted the turret. I don't know, yada yada yada. Casual ADC excuses. But that was really bad of me to die here. I could have walked away easily. You do the right thing going there. You're not looking hard enough for this fight. You're holding on to ult whenever we really need this. Because this is exactly what we're setting up for. 1 person was bot, 1 person was top, 3 people were mid. And now we got nothing, so we respond to their aggression. I don't know why you weren't looking very hard for that fight. Maybe you were trying to save your ult for like a priority target. But because you were saving your ult for a priority target, we ended up getting nothing in that situation. Whenever we should have just flat out won it anyways because we had them outnumbered. And, you know, even though we're behind, we're not that far behind. Because you divide this gold between everyone on the enemy team, and that extra person makes up for it. So we definitely still had the advantage there. And then I barely take another fight, which is, you know, luck. So, okay, let's look at the map again one more time. We know that the Ezreal just died, and we know this is going to slow push. Ocean Dragon is up, but Ocean Dragon doesn't matter a whole lot. At this point in the game, you should already have your mana regen or whatever the fuck you're going to be building that would, you know, replace Ocean Dragon. Baron is still up, and let's take a look one more time at our vision. You have 3 words in your inventory. You know where everyone is, and they're fucking low. And you're not going for vision. we're sitting on turret whenever you could be warding up here again. And you're following me around a little bit. I think that's an okay at point. I think that's okay at this point, right? Um, I overstepped trying to get vision just then. Do you see how, like, if you had done this earlier, whenever it was safe, this whole situation also wouldn't have happened? I take a stupid decision here, but I'm going to remind you of you can make a stupid decision a smart decision by warding. Earlier this game, top lane, whenever was pushing this, I was trying to create an advantage for us, but it was a stupid decision, and it was okay. It didn't really work out or not work out. It was an okay decision. But the same thing is here. You weren't helping the team with making it so we could make smart decisions. If everything we do is just reactive, you're going to lose games. You have to set things up so we can be proactive, and that's thinking about, again, where we want to be. This entire, past 10 to 15 minutes of the game, it's been on this section of the map. And we have very, very, very little setup on this side of the map this entire game. And you missed your ult there, but you would have died anyways, and I somehow fucking get out, and I should have died anyways. And now, we have no vision. See, I put my blue thing down, which lasts way too long this game. When we start looking a little bit for fights, I play this kind of bad. I'm just trying to make something happen. Alright, so this is when I'm trying to take the turret. And I'm expecting that after Xayah had used her ult and Blitzcrank had used his ult, that they're not going to be here. This is just an expectation. Also, we do have these blue trinkets. Now, blue trinkets are not your wards, so think about this. Whenever you're using a blue trinket, it's because you don't have vision there, and you are thinking that it's dangerous. That is the primary use of blue trinkets. And if we think it's dangerous, don't you think you should have had a ward over there? Okay. So I take this turret, and what you should be doing at this point in the game is probably what you're doing right now, actually. Because we already have an okay amount of vision over here, and I should be leaving after this turret, actually, but I die. You know, casual ADC things. And you should be looking to respond to this aggression wherever it's mid or bottom. And you don't know where people are, so it's not safe to go out and ward this deep. Xayah and Blitzcrank were top lane, but they could have just as well been bottom. Or middle, or something. So I think you're doing the smart thing here. Let's look at that real quick, though. Okay, no, that's fine. I was just checking to see if you'd used all the wards in your inventory, and you have, so you've been putting stuff down. And this is really... After the fact, it's easy to say, hindsight, positioning was a little bit sketch there, but you really do need to be paying attention to positioning mid-game. Playing someone that's, as honestly, Sona is hugely impactful just for getting Ardent off, so staying alive just to get Ardent off is huge. And I know you know this, but again, if it's something that's obvious, but it happens or it doesn't happen, don't you think that it needs to be more a part of your thought process? Pointing out simple things like this just isn't to flame you or anything. It's to make it so that way you know that this is something you need to work on, so that way you can be more aware of it in your next games. I should have pushed mid here. So you're sweeping our jungle. That was really good. And you looked to help me with that, and that was good. Let's see. 4 wards still. I told you that we wanted to set up over here, I think, and you start setting up over here. Also, a playstyle choice. I don't think you should be getting Mobies. This whole game, it felt like you were following and you weren't warding proactively. So getting Mobies to rotate and do stuff like that, you're not doing that. You don't roam and you only follow your team. You really should be getting something like Ninja Tabai or something this game, Sork Shoes or something. If you want to be roaming and it's hard to roam as Sona, possible but hard, especially whenever we're behind, because that happened. Um, you really don't need to be looking at Mobies. Mobies is something it's taking away stats and gold that you just really don't need. In fact, whenever I play Sona, I don't build shoes until really late because her E, it's a lot of move speed. So she doesn't really need it for rotating because you just, spam E. You don't really have mana problems. And here's whenever I call for Baron. This is actually a really bad call by me, and I will happily admit that here. But I'll explain why I was thinking this. So because we didn't see anyone and we had just killed their jungler, I wanted to bait them over here so that way we could get a kill or maybe Baron and then rotate to turrets. I didn't really care about doing Baron here, but I wanted them to come. And the only way you can really get them to come if they don't is by starting it. So right here, I start walking off of it. You see, I'm not actually doing it, and then we turn to this fight. Now, we misplay this by not knowing where the Trundle is, and that is why it was a bad call by me. I thought he was going to look for this as well. I thought he was going to try and teleport in or something, but, we didn't have our inhib turrets, so it was a bad judgment call by me. But the idea was to force them into a fight where they didn't have everyone, and even if the Trundle teleported, he would have showed up late. So that was the idea. And this is something you should also be looking for. In this exact situation, I wouldn't do it again, but it's something that you should be looking for. Whenever you create a small advantage like this, and we know they're going to be able to wave clear. They have Gangplank, and they have Xayah, and they have Blitzcrank, right? So we're not going to get this turret for probably 3 waves. And that's thinking ahead, right? We knew we weren't going to get this turret. So the only thing we really could do is walk back and respond to this. Clear some CS, or clear some CS, or try and force something else. Now, we're actually really far behind at this point in the game. We're like 9k behind. So, I'm thinking like, kind of, it's not necessarily a desperation. I still do think that this, in theory, would have been smart if we had an inhib turret. It's just, it didn't work out. But that's why I thought this. And this is something you should also be looking for. It's just, you should look for it a little bit better than I do. And I position pretty badly. I am not able to get anyone. And then we overstay. Yeah, we already know what happens here. We do get one turret, and then I try and look for another. Again, casual ADC excuse. Fucking greed for days. We got Zed pushing bottom, so they're going to have to respond to bottom soon. See, Gangplank's bottom. But it's really tough at this point in the game. At this point in the game, we have racked up a lot of small mistakes that make this game really hard to come back to. And you want to blame some of this on the team. I'm going to remind you that mid-game, we had let that roam happen on the Kassadin, so Kassadin lost lane because of us. We also were not setting up for split push, so nobody could be properly split pushing. And that was our win condition. And there were a couple of things like you showed up to a fight late and gave a kill. Stuff like that is meh in the big scheme of things because that's harder to pinpoint. It's easier to pinpoint things like in a broad decision-making scheme of you need to ward for split pushing and you need to, be pinging missing, stuff like that. It's because some fights you can show up to, some you can't. And that's hard to say. It's really bad to get a sweeping judgment. At this point in the game, right, what do I think we should do? I think this is a really tough call because we need to keep our waves pushing out, and the only way we can properly do that is if we keep someone bottom, and then we kind of rotate between mid and top. But if we had kept someone bottom and done what I just said, we still would have lost Baron. You know, we had no control over this side of the map, and then we start looking for this fight, and I think that's a terrible idea. And that was kind of my bad. I'll bet you're kind of thinking this whole time, like, what the fuck is my AD carry doing? Yeah, and then this is where we lose the game. So to go back into highlights as like a summary thing, you do need to work on your assisting with last hitting. You need to work on your missing pings. You need to adjust your build slightly for the situation. So Sightstone earlier against Blitzcrank and not getting Mobies. You need to be able to ward for split pushing and know where not to ward. You were warding somewhere that was completely unnecessary, and you were on the wrong side of the map for a large part of this game, whenever you should have been setting up over here for something that we could rotate between. Um, let's see. Your trinket early, you weren't using it soon enough for some reason. You held on to it, and I still don't really understand that. Um, hmm. Okay, and now so I don't just diss you this whole time, a little bit about your strengths. You do position very well normally in lane. You posture great. You create a very easy lane. Um, you backed off occasionally, but I think that's because you were under-leveled. And you're really good at responding to what your team does. It's just sometimes you need to know when not to do that. You respond to a lot of the random crap that I do, and you respond to a lot of the random stuff the Zed does. But again, sometimes you don't want to do that. Uh, I think that you have a very positive attitude in our game. That's incredibly important because nothing loses a game faster than starting to flame someone. It's if you want someone to FF and report you, that's what you do. But you know, it's yeah. Anyways, that's my takeaway from this game, and I'm gonna stop the stream.